What's up, y'all? Got another installment of Exposing Barry. I believe this is part 4. With this recent stuff with the Notre Dame church being burned down, and the thing in Sri Lanka. That's just another part of him and his hatred towards America and the hatred towards American values that was exposed. Back when he was running for president, back around 07, 08, his cousin, Raila Odinga, was running for president in Kenya. Now, Kenya has a Christian-based constitution. Odinga is a Muslim. So, Obama was giving campaign support to Odinga, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a Logan Act violation, and he was not supposed to be doing that. Anyway, he was campaigning and trying to help him out. There's a situation where Odinga and his people bombed a church and set it on fire, and the people who survived the initial fire ran out into the street, and they were all shot dead by Odinga's people with AR-15s. So I'm not sure, but I believe he didn't win the election, but I think they were trying to make him get some kind of permanent cabinet position, and he was trying to change the constitution to a Muslim-based constitution. And also, Obama gave them $23 million to institute compulsory abortions. If you don't know what a compulsory abortion is, it's a government forced abortion. So it's a woman getting an abortion whether she wants to or not. And that's, of course, a way to control the population of that country. But, that's just one of the, ways it shows his hate for Christianity, because he had, no opinion of that. He didn't condemn that. He didn't condemn his cousin's actions. I don't believe he was even asked about it. But I'm sure you've seen many people give commentary, Amazing Polly, Lions Republic, about Michael Manshale, being on some kind of dinner cruise in France at the time of the false flag of Notre Dame. She was on some kind of boat in the river, and you could see the reflection of Notre Dame burning in her wine glass. And, she's drinking wine, and nobody around her seems to be upset. So them saying they were upset and saddened by it, and, that's even more nonsense. Also, when Obama was being groomed for the position he was put in, he was told that he could not be in the Communist Party USA. He was told that he could not be of any other religion outside of Christianity, because that is the Judeo-Christian, is the religion of America, and also most black people are some subset of Christianity. So he linked up with Jeremiah Wright, because a lot of people don't know Jeremiah Wright is a 5%er. 5%er is a subset of Islam. You have the Nation of Islam, which comes from Elijah Muhammad, and you have 5%ers, which comes from that Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad type line, where they don't give the outward appearance as being as radical, even though they are. You won't necessarily find those particular guys willing to perform jihad. They don't push the jihad angle, but all the other terrible things behind Islam, they're all for it. I've mentioned before, what he said in that speech in 1995, and it's probably still on YouTube, about the different parts of the Bible and how we didn't read our Bible, when he was basically, saying the Bible was a horrible book, and Jesus was a type of person that would have got the whole Defense Department murdered. But, also when he would go to the Catholic universities and make them cover up pictures of Jesus or religious artwork. He would make them cover up Bible scriptures, all those type of things. And he would talk about he's known Islam in 3 different countries, and he used to hear the call of the azan at dawn, and it was the most beautiful sound he ever heard. Yes, he did put a prayer room in the White House to pray to the east 5 times a day. He did observe Ramadan in the White House. He did suspend the National Day of Prayer. Some of y'all have seen the National Prayer Breakfast before. Ben Carson has been there. A lot of presidents been there. And the year Obama was there, he gave some kind of lecture about, Christianity not being as peaceful as we make it out to be. And he talked about the Crusades, which happened in 1069. He talked about, which happened at Constantinople, which is basically around Istanbul, Turkey. So, we're talking about 1st and 2nd century type stuff. Stuff that's completely irrelevant to the particular year he was there. And, his example had to go that far back in history. And the Crusades were in direct response of Muhammad. And as I said yesterday, for those of y'all who was on Access Channel, the Catholic religion did create Islam. If you don't know, I believe they were the sons of Abraham. He had Isaac and Ishmael. Through Isaac, we got spiritual Jerusalem, or the spiritual Israelites, and through Ishmael, you got the Ishmaelites, which basically became Islam. And that was their way to have a foothold in the Holy Land. By the Muslims building the Temple of the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. That's the Catholic Church's way to have claim on Jerusalem over spiritual Jerusalem. But, back to his deceptions about being a Christian. He had to slip up during the race of him and John McCain, where he said, Senator McCain has never mentioned my Muslim faith. And the guy interviewing him had to say, don't you mean Christian? And he's like, oh yeah, my Christian faith. If you were really a Christian, then why would John McCain say anything? There's nothing controversial about you being a Christian. But, we know his mother and grandparents were Marxists. We also know his mother was a part of the Saboud cult. Also, y'all look up Muhammad Saboud, and not so much when he was an old man, but when he was a young man, and him and Barry could be twins. So I'm not sure who this dude's father really is. He could be some kind of test tube baby for all we know. But this is why he appears so awkward if they show him in churches. This is why he makes the faces he makes, him and Manshill, when people mention praise of God. If he happens to be at an award show and that person mentions God, and they kind of give a disingenuous smile as if they appreciate what they're saying when it's really not true. So, I don't know why Hillary and the Julian Castro dude went along with this Easter worshippers word, other than them being Christian phobic and sharing that, with Barry. But, he's probably never actually been to a real church service in his life. It would probably hurt his soul to be there. But that deception allowed him to reel in, the black vote. As a senator in Chicago, he couldn't even get it. He lost to ex-Black Panther Bobby Rush because he spoke well. They viewed him as a white boy, which is, that type of racism that liberals do. But I'm also A lot of people don't realize that he put Christians on a terrorist list during his presidency. So Christianity is considered a terrorist organization. So that demonization that comes from the left, from people like Don Lemon, that there's a problem with straight white men, the demonization of Christianity because it promotes the patriarchy and a nuclear family, which is something they're trying to destroy. His full-fledged backing of Planned Parenthood, saying if his daughter ever got pregnant, he wouldn't want her punished with a baby. Those appearances he made at Planned Parenthood, all the type of funding they got, the increase in funding they got with him being there, him, bringing along the Mary J. Blige's pandering to the, not just black people, but you have black people who don't have well-rounded interests. So you have people who only listen to the Mary J. Bliges of the world, and their music experience doesn't go beyond R&B, soul, and rap. And that's why he was so big into pop culture things. If I'm cool with John Legend, if I'm cool with Jay-Z, if I'm cool with Beyonce, if I'm cool with Mary J. Blige, if I'm cool with Puffy and all these irrelevant people, that, will keep the youth and the black people drawn in, the people who can't see past that. So, that's all, part of his master plan, and the people who pulled his strings, were brilliant, in their magic trick, in their illusion that they created behind this guy. I've had people that tell me that they didn't believe in God, but when he sung Amazing Grace in that South Carolina church, they thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I'm like, why would him be singing that song be great to you when you don't believe in God? But this is just how brainwashed people were when it came to him. And because he was so deceitful, because they did put their bullshit in such a pretty package, that's what made it very dangerous. Because the level of his deception, the saying, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. Because nobody truly knows who this man really is. And he's got, I'm going to get stars that perform concerts, and they'll see that as, me being cool. Like I said in another video, having Sheila E. at the Democratic National Convention tapping into the grief of millions of Prince fans, trying to draw people in like that to put them onto Hillary. Trying to draw in a Jay-Z and Beyonce fan, with Manshell saying, if I wasn't me, I would want to be Beyonce. Because she has her little beehive community, and they have this big reach. Also, you have to understand that Obama wants to be head of the UN. And he would be making a big push for that if it wasn't for, them misplaying their hand so bad with this Russia thing. So he's not able to focus on that. He had to move Valerie Jarrett in, and they had to really focus on trying to run this shadow, underhanded, duplicate government. If you noticed, Trump is not being followed around the world by Obama anymore like he was last year. Almost everywhere Trump with Obama went, trying to give speeches and trying to give rallies. And why would an ex-president need to be giving a rally? What are you rallying about? You're not running for any other kind of office. But if you think about him being made head of the UN, being head of the UN is almost like being president of the world. This is where people get their views that he's the Antichrist, or the son of perdition, or Beelzebub. If you've ever seen a compilation of videos where flies are constantly swarming around him and he's always swatting at flies and he's killing them and they're landing on his face, there are multiple different videos about that. And if I'm not mistaken, Beelzebub means Lord of the Flies. You know, and there's also just many people who have had premonitions or dreams or thoughts of this, and you know, he does have the spirit of Antichrist. I probably went over this in another video, but Luke chapter 10:19, I beheld Satan fall as lightning from heaven, and in Aramaic, lightning from heaven is Barack Obama, so it's I beheld Satan fall as Barack Obama. So I believe he was someone who set the stage for the Antichrist, but is he the Antichrist? I don't know, but I mean, numerology and gematria point to him being him. You know, if you look at the coordinates of Hawaii, as I mentioned, being 216, and that's 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. His birthday being the 216th day of the year, 6 times 6 times 6. His full name being 18 letters, 6 plus 6 plus 6. The pick 3 and pick 4 in the Chicago lottery the day after the election, I believe. The pick 3 was 666. The pick 4 was 7779. And I did look it up on the Illinois State website just to see if that was true. The zip code of the part of Chicago he lived in, 60606. So, you know, that number appears surrounding him over and over and over again. On his birthday, during the 2012 Olympics, during Serena Williams, you know, the gold medal podium where, you know, the person who wins the gold gets their anthem played. During the playing of the national anthem, and this was on his birthday, the American flag snapped from where it was hanging from and just fell to the ground. You know, as if they were giving us a hint that he was going to bring the fall of America, or was going to attempt to bring the fall of America. The Daniel 11:40-45 prophecy talks about wars that would happen under the Antichrist, and those wars happened under Obama. So, you know, there's a lot that points to him. You know, them saying that the Antichrist would rise from the sea like the mouth of a lion, and him allegedly being from Hawaii, which is in the middle of the sea, if you will, and him being a Leo, you know, the astrological sign of the lion. You know, so those type of things, you know, the renegade, you know, his nickname, the Beast, the nickname of the limousine he drove in, the whole thing with the pergament altar at the Democratic National Convention in 2008, the speech the New World Order speech he gave in front of the pergament altar in Berlin, Germany, the white horse being, I believe it was Broncos Stadium, so there was a white horse up there, and we all know the Antichrist rides a white horse, even in Islam. The Mahdi or the Dajjal, they ride a white horse. And there's something I seen years ago that said that the horse that the Antichrist rides in Islam is named Barak. So I'm not sure if that's true or not. Anybody more versed in that part of Islam will have to correct me if I'm wrong. But I did see that somewhere, and I believe it was a video I seen that Bridget Guerriero was on. But she was saying how when he would go and he would bow to the Queen and bow to the King of Saudi Arabia, that he went down too low, and that on the world stage was showing acquiescence or obeisance or America's subjection to these foreign powers. Because she said, you know, basically Bush, Clinton, the other ones, they would kind of just dip their head slightly to the Queen, because being that these are different, their government is an oligarchy and ours is a republic, they're basically on the same level. So there's no need for them to bow no more to her than her to them. You know, they're basically in the same position, her to an extent. But that was him trying to, open America up to be pillaged by the world. That's why he was on that apology tour. That's why he called people in America and the South bitter cleaners that clean their guns and Bibles. This demonization of Christians is not an accident, because Christians are the largest group in America, and they're the largest group of gun owners. And as we talked about, Mao, Lenin, Stalin, Hitler, all of these people, before they took over, disarmed their countries in order to be able to take over. And they always do it under, the auspices of making you safer, which is also a joke. And they trick you into giving your liberty away to be able to implement their plan, so you really have nobody to blame but yourself if it happens. But, he probably feels the walls closing in on him and man shell, and they're going to make this last push. I don't know who they're going to get 100% behind as far as the presidential race goes. They're going to want somebody that's willing to disarm the country. Obviously, I don't think they have a person on this planet that could beat Trump. I mean, Buttigieg, all these people, they're all radicals. They're all morons. So, they're just basically sending a sacrificial lamb up there. But I'm surprised that a lot of Christians fell for Obama as hard as they did. He speaks very ill of Christians, and he's done it publicly, and he's done it privately. He hates the fact that the British colonized Africa. He blames part of that on America, so he's anti-colonization. So a lot of his hatred for the politics of the West came from Barack Sr., which is not his father, but a lot of the ideas he got and a lot of the communism and radical ideas he got came from him. He has a lot of ties to Islamic terrorist groups, Hezbollah, Hamas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and Al-Qaeda are basically the same thing, but you know what I mean. I believe Hamas is real big in Iran, but, he had ties to a lot of imams and sheikhs, and as far as Iran go to ayatollahs, he was basically giving them weapons. This is where the Benghazi thing happened. He was arming these different terrorist factions, and J. Christopher Stevens was against it. And this is why J. Christopher Stevens is dead. It's not because of some YouTube video. They actually watched that live, him and those 4 soldiers be killed. You can just follow Chris Tonto Peranto on social media. He's one of the survivors of Benghazi. But all of these things, kind of interconnected with his plan. I mean, Syria has a big Hezbollah, Hamas problem. Iraq, Iran, all these different places, and that's why he was flooding America with refugees from these places, so they could bring those different cells within the United States, and they could take over like they have in Dearborn, Michigan, or that town of Oklahoma that lady was talking about yesterday, or like they're trying to do in Minneapolis. I mean, if you heard the call from Pete in Houston a couple days ago, the Somalis got noticeably out of control after Prince died, which is, that's when the Mall of America stabbing happened right after that. As if the one thing keeping Minneapolis from going completely out of control was him being alive, and once the hit was complete, they were able to overrun it with these people. And I go to Minneapolis once a year, and all the Uber drivers, well, not all of them, but a lot of the Uber Lyft drivers are Somalis, and they complain about taking you back and forth to Paisley Park, and which is funny. But those are really friendly cities. They're kind of going in and taking over people that just want to be nice to others, and they come in with their sob stories and their 50 kids and weasel their way in and take over. And that's what he wanted. America was supposed to become a caliphate. And Hillary Clinton had no problem keeping with, I believe there was a 16-year plan, or maybe it was a 28-year plan. Whatever it was, she had, no, it was 16 years, because 8 terms of Obama, 8 years of Obama, 8 years of her. So their plan was going to turn America into the largest shithole in the world, unless you consider China or India a shithole, which in some instances they probably are, but that's neither here nor there. But there's a lot of stuff that's still out there to be researched about Obama. But check out Shaka Shakur's channel. He has a lot of his links to the spying on Trump and the real collusion being from the Ukraine. If you remember that whole situation with Russia and Crimea a few years ago, that kind of got swept under the rug, and Uranium One and all those type of things. So there's deep ties to the Ukraine as far as Obama goes, and he has whole graphs and charts of it that I guess he posts on Facebook. He has them in his phone, and when he does his live streams, he shows them. And he does a lot of live streams, kind of like CAG does, where he might do one daily for an hour or so, and he sits in his car, and he shows you, all of this different stuff, so you can see it on paper. This is not just stuff he's making up. And all the stuff I've said about Obama, you can go look it up, you can go research it, you can go find the videos of him saying these things. You can, if the 23 coincidences of Obama is still on YouTube, watch that video. And there's this one clip of him eating a slice of pizza. I guess it's Chicago pizza, because they have deep dish pizza, and he has this evil look on his face. That was creepy, and I've seen that years ago, but I'll still never forget the look he had on his face. And I was like, this dude is pure freaking evil. The man makes my skin crawl. But they're still trying to go with their plan. Hopefully they are watching these people and stopping them from coming here. And I don't care if people think it is racist that there's a Muslim ban, because these people hate the West, so why are you coming over here? But he wanted to flood us with Syria, Iraq, Iran, especially with people from those regions. Not so, I don't know how many Yemenis or people from Oman or people from Afghanistan and Tajikistan, but it was definitely Syria. Syria was definitely a big time place where they were trying to flood us, especially, I heard there's a lot in California, a lot of Syrian refugees among the Mexicans. So, if I'm not mistaken, Axe is probably starting up his afternoon chat pretty soon, and I'm almost at 30 minutes, so any questions you may have or topics you want me to discuss next, leave it in the comments, and thumbs up, thumbs down, share, subscribe or not, you know I don't give a shit. To the haters and trolls and people making dumbass comments about some shit they think I did or didn't say on Axe's live chat, get a damn life. Alright, I'm out.